Hello, we start chapter 9, which is about the internet. And with this chapter, we will start looking at the second topic in part 3 of the textbook. Remember that part 3, which we started with last lecture. We are looking at the different tools, the different options for communicating and establishing relation with our markets that we have available. So in addition to internet tools, we will see later on sales promotions, point of purchase, public relations, sponsorship, direct marketing, personal selling, etc. So today we will go over the following learning outcomes or objectives. Summarize the internet's role in integrated marketing communications, first of all. Then describe the nature of the internet as a medium for communicating promotional messages. 3. Define options for promotion on the web. 4. Identify the issues involved in establishing a website. And number 5, list the developments likely to shape the future of integrated marketing communications on the web. If we see this picture here from the middle of the 20th century, well, as you can see, everybody's reading the newspaper. If we were to see a picture of nowadays in the subway in a major metropolitan area, we will see more likely passengers looking at the smartphone screens or tablets or some electronic device, right? So the way in which communication from businesses and organizations occurs with their consumers, with their customers, has changed dramatically. There has been a very clear differentiation in the way that we establish relationships and we reach our audiences. However, this does not mean that we will get rid of the other conventional or traditional media. Although internet has gained importance and digital communications continue increasing, and the budgets for marketing in firms is placed more and more on digital online technologies, it doesn't mean that it is going to replace completely traditional media such as printed, right? Printed media, newspapers, magazines, flyers, or radio stations or television networks. Remember that it depends on your target market, on the segment of consumers you go after, and which way is the most optimum for reaching them. So if you have consumers, for example, who are baby boomers, and still many of those baby boomers read traditional newspaper or listen to the radio while driving, etc., those are ways in which you will reach them and will complement other communication strategies that you have in your marketing campaign, right? So let's see internet in the different options available for the marketer. Among one of the different promotional mix tools that we can utilize. The importance, however, that we have seen in the use of online digital communications for marketing purpose lies in its potential to reach more consumers on a global scale, right? In a global scale, the ability to create and deliver the messages in form that was not feasible in the past with traditional media. So we need to recognize, of course, that there is an advantage and potential, especially in terms of international marketing. Here in the US, we have many consumers who are, of course, digital native consumers and some other segments of the population that have adopted internet, and the expansion and the coverage of internet in the US is high. But there are other countries in which this is just starting to happening not long ago, that you have internet providers in a larger scale, that it has become affordable to lower income consumers. We sometimes do not think of that. We take for granted that internet is accessible and easy to acquire here in the US, and that's true. But in other countries, that's not necessarily the case. An internet connection may be expensive, may be technically difficult. However, those obstacles are being overcome, and we have, for example, big markets like China, in which the number of users, because of the population, of course, it has surpassed um, the number of users in the United States. And we have other economies, of course, for which there is a potential population. For example, here, India, we see that still there is a big gap, a potential for expanding internet coverage and access to the population. So these are markets where, if your business is planning or is having operations in those nations, internet will play a critical role in reaching those consumers, again, in a way that in the past, through traditional media, was a challenge. The infrastructure of internet, just to review a little bit the the building blocks, let's say, that make possible internet communication, starts at the bottom with the telecommunication carrier, right? Which are these networks that allow the technical implementation and deployment of internet communications. Then you have website hosting um, companies. You have, then, at the business level, you have internet hardware and software, which is the computer equipment, the routers, and and the servers that you have in your company that support all these companies' online infrastructure. By the way, it is in this web, in this part of the internet building blocks, or this infrastructure, where you had back in the 90s the first providers that utilize these communication technologies for marketing purposes. Remember that there were initially the internet is a result of military projects, communication projects for military use, and then the World Wide Web started as a platform for scientific communication, sharing information among scientifics. But then the community, the scientific community, business community, also of course identify applications for business and marketing. And of course, you have now recent newer developments in terms of storage of information, such as the cloud, applications development, especially related to mobile technologies. In concerning marketing applications, what we use internet and why it is included as part of this promotional and advertising course? Well, because in addition to all other uses for government, for the military, of course, consumers have adopted internet as a means for learning information about products and services, acquiring and getting products delivered, either physically or electronically, also for sharing their experiences. And of course, we've seen this more clearly with social media platforms. So there are two major routes through which the consumer and the marketer and a firm establish relationship and can be utilize this relationship for marketing purpose, and that's through email on one side and through surfing World Wide Web on the other. So how can we make our platforms, our website easier to find and be accessed by consumers? Well, the three main ways of accessing World Wide Web is first through surfing, right, and using search engines, which is something that we all do in a daily basis through search engines such as Yahoo, such as Google, of course. Also by going to portals of those service providers, which we may get there through search engines, correct? Or through other advertising by clicking advertising and then being directed to the landing page, which in this case is your own company website where you are interested consumers go in, interact or do purchases, etc. And the other is through personal websites and blogs, which is where we could also locate or categorize social media platforms, right? Such as LinkedIn accounts, more for professional purposes, and the other type of platforms or websites, including blogs, right? So how do we make our marketing strategy to be present and to have an impact on consumers who utilize World Wide Web in any of these three ways? Well, that's what your marketing strategy in terms of the promotional tactics will be deployed, including that, because you may have as part of your promotional mix strategy an objective to reach consumers through traditional media, through outdoor and billboard advertising, for example, public relations, but then as part of that strategy include a component which will be digital online media, and that'll be more likely through one of these three categories of accessing having access to consumers, right? It has been demonstrated, there is data that shows that these are the main activity that people do through online technologies, right? We spend most of our time sending and receiving emails, accessing information, news, entertainment, making purchases, paying bills, etc. So this is what we as marketers have to think about. In which of these activities we can make compatible or accommodate our marketing communications so that the consumer listens to us is aware of what we offer, recognize our products, recognize our brand, and are incentivized to interact, become engaged, right? Remember, the companies that are successful are those who not just provide information, distribute information, but are able to engage consumers into their promotional activities. What are the advantages? Sorry. What are the advantages of internet promotion over other means of communicating with consumers, which we will see throughout the semester? Well, first of all, digital technologies allowed for greater market selectivity, right? So the marketer can focus on specific interests, specific profiles of consumers, either demographic or psychographic, right? Based on usage, based on geographical locations, correct? So it allows something that probably a magazine or a radio commercial or television commercial will not do in an effective way, which is discriminating and selecting the type of consumers that you as a marketer are interested in reaching, right? Second, you can track for results, so you know what is the impact of your promotion. If you send, if you distribute flyers across the city, if you place a billboard or some ad in a newspaper, it is hard to track what is the effect, what is the actual impact, how many consumers who saw that billboard or display actually, because of that ad, decided to make a purchase, right? Or to interact with consumers. That's hard with traditional media, but with online internet communication tools, you can do that. You can know when and how your advertisement was viewed and whether the customer click into the ad to be directed to your landing page of your company and make a purchase or browse for information. So of course that's an advantage in terms of accountability and measurement of results. And also internet promotions provides deliverability, flexibility, and reach, right? Which is what we talked earlier. You can adjust a message, you can change your website, your advertisement in real time. If you think of an advertisement placed on a magazine, well, once that your advertisement is printed in the magazine and the magazine is distributed, then you cannot change it. You cannot retract it back and modify something. So you have this flexibility, in which again that does not sacrifice, in the case of internet promotion, does not sacrifice the deliverability or the reach, which again this is something that can go from local to a global scale. Consumers are able to interact, right, through online technologies, not only share feedback, modify orders or requests or purchases, but also establish communication with other consumers, or as we see on the slide, get information from a product by using a QR code and their smartphone to learn about the product, which is something that cannot be easily done through conventional promotional media. Yeah, in the past, probably, well, you could learn about a product by asking a store associate or calling a 1-800 number, but of course it is more convenient through the interactivity that internet promotion communication tools affords. Integration, we refer here to the possibility of making compatible, integrating these online activities, internet promotion activities, with other tools in the promotional mix, such as personal selling, such as direct advertisement, such as sales promotion, right? So for example, sales promotion that you can integrate easily by with internet communications, with email marketing, by sending coupons right to the consumer through email, and sending some special offers by including videos, or catch the attention of consumers in social media through a video, through a commercial that is aired in traditional television, right? But it is delivered through smartphone or mobile devices. So the capability of integrating online communication tools with other non-online, with other offline um, activities conducted by the firm is of course another advantage of internet promotion. And finally, last but not least, cost benefits. You have a lower um, cost per impact uh, compared to most of the traditional media tools. So you can reach consumers, and the cost per thousand, the CPM, the cost per thousand, which is the term utilized in the industry, well, compares favorably with other advertising, right? That will be more expensive reaching a consumer in terms of larger volumes. So what are some type of the communications tools available for the marketer in the digital scope? Well, paid searches is probably the most salient, the most visible, and the one we as consumers are maybe more exposed to. And I would like you to watch this video. I'm not gonna ask you to watch it now, because I believe you cannot hear in this recording the voice, but I'm posting this link, which is a 4 minutes link for you to watch, about an explanation of a AdWords tutorial from Google to understand some of the common terms regarding paid search advertisement. For example, the difference between paid search and organic search, right? How the advertisement that you pay for and you bid a price against other marketers, others advertisers, determines where your advertisement will appear on a search result on Google in this case, compared to other results that you don't have to pay, but its location on the search result page will depend more on the content, on the relevance of the of the material, of the contents, of the files, of the information that you have in your website, for example. So I would like you to take a look to this video. It's 4 minutes approximately, and that's one of the type of internet promotion. Another is of course display or banner ads. For example, if we click to this news website, well, and you have seen this also. For sure, there are advertisements like what we see here, these banners, which are or here on the right hand side, which are part of advertisement networks which you can establish contract with, so that they distribute, they deliver your promotional material to the type of consumers that you have pre-established, for example, geographically speaking, right? Remember that websites and web browse, when you are browsing on the internet, there are these cookies that keep the information of your browsing habits and information of which pages you have been to. And if you see a website, if you go into a website looking for hotel reservations, well, it's not surprising, it should not be strange that maybe later in the day or next day you will keep receiving advertisements for hotels, because of course that information is maintained by the um, through these cookies that marketers utilize and this advertising network use to tell which consumers you should send which advertisement according on what the marketer establishes or determines. The same thing with pop-ups and pop-under ads, right? Which, by the way, now with newer technologies, you can block, of course, you can avoid these advertisements, and well, that's just part of this battle between the consumer who wants to have access to the content he or she is interested in, and the marketers who is looking for intrusive ways to have his message out there, his message heard or listened by the consumer. And by the way, this intrusive approach to advertising is something that is changing. Now we have we have more consideration as marketers for what is called the earn attention instead of paid attention, instead of having an intrusive approach to have consumers forced to watch to your ad. We want consumers to watch and pay attention to what we have to say, not because we are necessarily paying for the attention, but because we are providing information and content that is relevant to them, that is attractive, something that it's worth telling. And that's how consumers really get to be appealed and attracted to what we say, when we say something that matters to them, right? And of course, this can be achieved through a number of tools, the more appealing and attractive through rich media, which is of course incorporating not only text and images in your messages, but also audio visuals, right? Which of course it makes it more appealing to the segments of consumers. You have, of course, a number of platforms or home pages, including the corporate homepage, where you have your information that, one more time, you want to have it and fill it not only with information about the CEOs or the directors and the staff, or information for employees, which of course is important, but making it engaging. And the challenge is to make that the website, your homepage, something that people want to go back and really spend time there. Just think in your own case. Think a little bit about when was the last time you spent time on a website looking or learning about the company, browsing about the corporation. Well, I'm sure that's not something that happens very often. You usually go and buy a product, make a reservation, learn about something that you are interested in at that moment to solve a problem, but not because it's something you want to learn more. So those pages, those websites of those firms that are able to do that, they are doing a good job. In terms of establishing a website, there are four issues that have to be managed in a successful way to establish and maintain a website. The first one is, of course, the keywords that will be linked or associated to your page, to your website. You have to have a domain name, the URL that is available, and have consideration for intellectual property right issues, right? So that's one thing. Then promoting the website in a way that the word is spread out, in a way that you have the awareness of consumers, and that browsers get there and stay and interact, which is in other words creating a sticky site, which is what we talked a minute ago. You have to have a content that is relevant, and one more time, this is what is called earned media. Instead of paid media, you earn the right, you earn the attention and the interest of consumers because it's something that is interesting to them. You have a website that helps motorcycles, riders, technical stuff, mechanical stuff about motorcycles. Well, that segment of consumers is interested in that. So websites sponsored by Harley Davidson, for example, where they've been doing that successfully because they connect with what matters to their consumers. And of course, last but not least, privacy issues. There are a number of security and privacy matters, breaches of security that we have heard in the media, and of course that's something that people care more and more every time. So what is your company, your website doing for securing the information that consumers enter when interacting your site? Another important topic is that of the evaluation. How are you going to evaluate the response from consumers? You have a number of measures or indicators in this chapter. For example, if you go to pages 191, 192, you have there the difference between hits and page views, right? Which is a measure of the number of elements from a website that are requested, those are the hits. Well, but it doesn't tell you how much attention the viewer paid, how much attention they pay to your content. The same thing with page views. The page view is are the pages that are sent to the requesting user's computer, right? Like when you go into your computer and you request or you click on a website, well, that tells you that you view the page, but it doesn't tell you much in terms of what was the interaction, right? That is something that, for example, is indicated through the click-through rates. You have advertisement placed out there, and then you have a count of how many times that consumer went through different parts of your website and click on different sections of information, or look at the picture of a product. So that is more effective in terms of measuring the behavior of a consumer in your website. Number of visits, yeah, that tells you of course the number of occasions in which a user visited a website. But maybe if that same user goes again or enters again into the website later today in the same day, that is going to be counted as two users, even though it's the same person, as two different visits, even though it's the same person. So that may be misleading. That's why you have other measures such as the unique visitors. So it doesn't matter if you go again to the same website from your same computer or your same smartphone. If you go over and over to the same website in different days, for the purpose of counting unique visitors, you will know that the same user went or visited your website several times in the week. So you count that as one consumer, not as different consumers. I recommend you to look at this Canvas website because this is an example of a analytics software. These hits or visits or click-through rates or unique visitors are very quantitative in terms of number of times that a user interacted with your website. But sometimes you want to learn some qualitative or some subjective type of information, like for example, what is the sentiment, right, that people have in interacting with your product on Facebook, for example. Well, companies like this with analytics software available are able to look at this. Of course, this is something that is a service that they charge for, but I recommend you to look to watch this video. It's just like 1.5 minutes. I'm going to post this in the material in Blackboard so you can see at how these insights, which are more, we could say, qualitative, that's what is called the sentiment analysis through analytics software, can help marketers to assess the reaction, the response of consumers. Finally, what is the future that we can foresee? Of course, that we don't have a crystal ball to see what's going on in 5-10 years from now, but there are some tendencies. And again, the online digital promotion is not going to substitute completely traditional media, but it will continue gaining importance. One more time, it's all about segmentation and what you as a marketer, as a team in your firm, consider is the best way to reach certain segments, certain audiences. We will see continuation of growth in wireless delivery system, in mobile communication marketing. Of course, this will be allowed as more infrastructure and technical capabilities are available for consumers. Video, also the importance of videos in marketing campaigns, right? And again, this is something that can be integrated easily with other type of promotional mix tools, with other tactics, right? Such as the use of hashtags, one more time, which that allows you to keep measurement of the conversation people are having online. But one more time, the core, the attractiveness, the attention that is generated is through video materials, right? Like this is a campaign for Aruba as a tourism destination, and this campaign has been for, I guess, over a year already, and it's basically focused on social media, Twitter, Facebook, but the major element of it is through videos. So I'm gonna, of course, you will be able to check this when you look at these slides available in Blackboard. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Please take a look to these slides in Blackboard and prepare for quizzes and exams.